grown man is. We step into some grown man is. Conversation on some grown man is. Put your hands up on some grown man is. We puffin' on some grown man is. We sippin' on some grown man is. We vibin' on some grown man is. We lovin' on some grown man is. I know, you know, that you're down with me.
Yes, we are here. We are here on another Tuesday night. It's called Grown Man Conversations, the visual podcast, because you can see it, you can hear it, and tonight you will definitely feel it live from EQ Studios. We are in HD, digital, surround, sound, not Dolby. We digital over on this side, and I am just one half of the incredible dynamic duo that brings you this type of energy every week. I go by the name of Tone X. Thank you, beautiful people. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And the other part of the dynamic duo, the other wonder twin, young lady, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I sure do. I am Y Square.
Okay,
Yes,
Y Square.
the other half of this dynamic
Chocolate
duo.
drop, Team Natural Hair.
That's
I know
right.
y'all seen that on Instagram.
Come on now.
Feel free to comment.
Come on now.
And in the building tonight, we have someone that is described as an activist because he's always active. We have somebody that's a visionary because he has a vision for the community. And he's not a revolutionary, but a resolutionary because it's all about resolving and bringing solution through information and making an impact. We talking real tonight. We talking real tonight. Let me introduce you to my man, Rhandu. What's going on, family?
That's right.
Peace. Everything is everything. I see you got your camo. Yolanda, he came with his
Yeah,
army
he do.
fatigues
He
on
do.
tonight.
Ready for war, man. There's war out here. I'm ready for it.
Would you
know
tell
what I'm
me the
saying?
resolution will not be
Yes,
televised?
the resolution will not be televised. You know what I'm saying? We got to resolve this outside of the TV and media. We got to do it behind closed doors.
That's the
We
only
got to
way.
get it done.
It's the only
You know
way,
what I'm
I
saying?
believe.
You know, that which is most powerful is unseen. We got to do it behind closed doors, man.
There we go. Now, listen, you are a member of the Mecklenburg Council of Elders.
Yes, I am. I'm first vice president of Mecklenburg Council of Elders, and I'm a service provider for the organization as well.
Now, what is the Mecklenburg Council of Elders?
Mecklenburg Council of Elders is an organization that deals with social justice and social justice and criminal justice reform. So we focus on expungements, certificate of reliefs, and know your rights. So the organization has been in effect for 5 years, going on 6 years particularly, and we've been pillar in the community. You know, we've been doing what we're supposed to do for our people. That's what we've been doing.
Got you. Turn the volume down on that.
Is it a little loud?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got you. That's excellent. That's excellent, Rhandu. What inspired the name, The Resolutionist?
Oh well, listen. It comes from my behavioral health agency from years ago called Resolutionary Youth and Family Behavior Management that I had some years ago. It's all about resolve. When you're looking at resolving an issue, it takes two or more people to resolve an issue. You can't. So I always felt when you're talking about solutions to human problems, I don't think there is a solution to a human problem because I think there's only solutions to mathematical problems and equations. But when you're talking about human beings, there's always going to be conflict with, you can be in conflict with yourself, but it takes two people to resolve a conflict with each other.
Right.
So that's where it came from, resolve. It takes at least two people to resolve that issue. So that's why, I focused on resolutionary.
It's beautiful, man. And shouts out to Brother Norman, Brother Rockman,
Yes.
Student Minister Corey Muhammad,
Indeed, my
Brother
brother.
DJ. Yes.
All
What's
of them,
up,
yep.
family?
That is the Peacekeepers.
Peace.
You see us with our orange tees on various blocks in the
Indeed.
hood. And the same thing, we have conflict resolution that we're beginning to implement into these communities. First of all, beautiful people, I want to bring to your attention how Rhandu moves. He bought
Us a sheet.
Yolanda a topic of discussion.
He brought both of us a topic of discussion.
Was I wrong for that?
Hot topic sheet here.
Hot topic.
So we don't mess nothing up with his agenda. So listen.
No, you're not wrong for that. That's good. Normally, it's candid conversation, and we talk about and we spotlight. But these are great, and so these are
Right, because it
definitely
gives us a
topics
guideline
that we
and it
want to
helps
hit.
us stay on point. This means family, when a person comes to a podcast like this means he values his time. And he wants to get as much information in as possible before he needs to go home. So let's go ahead and start Y Square. I see the first movement is the no snitching movement now. Me and you, we from that era. We old school. Now it's snitches get stitches. You know what I mean? Which provokes people to not say anything when we're talking about something that needs to be spoke upon. Now, I always tell people, if you see something, then you say something. It's that simple. If you see something, then you say something. Snitching was a different code in the streets that really it was adapted to when the kids say, you can't tell whoop de whoop, but that's not what it is, because you talking about telling on somebody in school. You ain't locked up.
Right.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You ain't behind no bars. You just talking about, well, I ain't gonna tell because so and so, and then you get in trouble. The block gets in trouble. The community gets in trouble because no one wanted to snitch.
Exactly. We're in a different time and era, so people don't understand what no snitching really is. From the street level, coming from the streets of Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn.
Do or die.
Yeah, do or die, straight out of Bed-Stuy. So snitching had a lot to do with if you're involved in a crime together, anything you're doing illegally together, you don't snitch on your co-defendant, okay? What happened was with the no snitching law, or should I say the code, it got out of hand. It just got loose. Everybody, no snitching. Even if they're not involved in criminal activity, they're not going to snitch, okay? And what happened was with the no snitching, think about it this way. The neighborhoods lost the neighbors and became the hood.
Right.
And what we got to do is we got to understand, we got to get back to the point where we could put the neighbor back into the hood so we can have neighborhoods. We don't have neighborhoods anymore. No. We have hoods. It's all popular to be coming from the hood. Right. Okay, I get that. I grew up poor, dead poor, with nothing. You know, I came from a neighborhood, a poor neighborhood. But again, it transitioned because of no snitching became the hood. So again, people don't understand that. Also, remember Neighborhood Watch. Right. Okay, Neighborhood Watch. Who is the Neighborhood Watch person in your neighborhood? Think about it. Some old lady.
Karen.
I knew
who gonna call the police and who gonna get you locked up.
Right. I remember a lady by the name of Miss Washington.
It ain't Miss Jenkins.
What was her name?
Miss Washington.
Give it up for Miss Karen and Miss Washington. They deserve a round of applause.
Miss Washington, she told everything. Everything she saw. But again, it wasn't a situation she wanted us to get in trouble. She wanted us to stay out of trouble. She was basically a prevention mechanism on the block.
Right.
We don't have that anymore because we don't have a lot of Miss Washingtons. We don't have a lot of people who are considered elders or older. We dealing with a different age group of parent who came up in the no snitching era. So a lot of that is being spilled over, and I think that the no snitching law to this day, because people don't understand what it really means, is one of the biggest detriments of our neighborhoods today.
Right.
Because we know who they are, or they know who they are, and they're not saying anything about it. And there's only a small percentage of those, whoever they are, that's doing those shootings and killings. And everybody's afraid because they don't want to snitch. But that's not snitching. That's like if somebody gets killed, you know, child like these children have been getting killed all over the nation. Right. It is your responsibility. It is your duty as a civilized person, as a human being, to tell someone. Especially you have nothing to do with that. Now, if you're a co-defendant or a co-conspirator, that's different. But if you sitting by and watching it happen, that's a
innocent
problem.
Bystander. Yeah,
and that sends a negative, wrong message to our young people, our younger generation, because they have no clue what no snitching really is.
A lot of the elders got lost up.
Yes. Yeah, and it goes today that you hear about the incident that happened off of Independence today. Or maybe it was yesterday. Yeah,
right,
with
right
the
down, but
1-year-old baby and the 15-year-old and a 3-year-old or something was in the car.
Yes.
And that's crazy. And they said the 15-year-old was one of the ones shooting outside of the car, which hit one of the babies that was in the car that he was in.
That was a 1-year-old that was grazed in the head by a bullet. Just like, last week before last, a 3-year-old. I mean, okay, I work for a government agency that deals with juveniles, okay? Can't say which, but I do work, and I come in contact with those individuals across the state, all right? And it's happening in real time. They call it, SOID, shooting into occupied dwellings. they're doing it. They're drive-by shootings. Kids 8 years old, 5 years old getting killed. And when it hit Charlotte, now you understand that particular situation that took place with the 3-year-old a couple of weeks ago, that made national news.
Right.
That made national news. Then this just happened down the street yesterday, 1 year old.
Yeah.
So we have to do something. I mean, it's certain ways we have to come together to make it stop. And we can stop it. We can curb it. Now, the violence is not going to stop as the city grows. But we can do things to decrease and curb it and redirect it.
I agree. So to kind of get on our next topic, is part of us being able to do something and curb it tie into that parental or that millennial parenting?
Okay, so let me put it this way. And I want, I know you have an intelligent audience. I know you have an intelligent audience. So I want your audience to think about it from the sense of numbers. Look at the time frame. The young people who are killing each other across the nation are between the ages of 16 to 25 years of age. That's doing most of the shooting ops and the whole nine. Look at that generation and think about them as being the grandchildren, and let me say what I'm about to say, the grandchildren of the mass incarcerated. Say that again. The grandchildren of the mass incarcerated. Because look, that means that there's a generation, particularly millennial age parents, that missed the parental or the principles that we were brought up in about parenting. They're missing it. So therefore, it's not that they don't love their children, but they don't know how to love them as firmly as we were loved.
Right.
You understand? So so therefore, there's a missing link. So understand, we have to get to the parents. We got to get to the millennial parents now. The millennial parents aging from, I think if I'm correct, from 25 to maybe 37 or 38 years old or something like that. That's considered the millennial parents. So these kids who are 16, 17 or younger who are doing the shootings, they're coming from an older generation, older parents, millennials. But then you have the younger parents. Think about what's coming up. The parents who are in their mid-20s, they got kids who are 6, 7, 8 years old. They're coming up in the ranks. So we have to have some type of intervention to focus on, I say, the millennial parents. They need help. They want help. They crying for help. You just have to be there to give it to them. And we can't allow ourselves to be spoon-fed by these programs that are just spoon-feeding us a little bit of revenue just to kind of put a Band-Aid over the problem, which is much deeper than we can imagine.
Right.
So
It goes back.
It goes back.
It goes all the way back to when you talk about millennial parenting, and then you tie in technology, because technology sits at the forefront. And shouts out to my man, Brother Risa Islam, A Message to the Millennials. That's a book that you may want to pick up. Excellent book. Millennial parenting, it already sounds young. So it's a younger mentality. And it's a gap between the instruction you used to get from the elders when we were coming up to what you get now. Now, it's also different from what you consider an elder in today's society. The technology is causing a divide between people and communication.
Indeed.
A lot of people live their lives like they're on social media. That's how they do it. And the same way they do things for likes, and that's how they live out, because they have adapted social media into their real life. That's why the difference between social media and real life is a thin line for a lot of people, because they don't understand the difference of these two worlds. When you were talking about no snitching, and you were talking about neighborhoods, there has been a loss of community. And community just isn't people together, because there's no communities in Charlotte either.
Right.
There are places where there are large populations of black people, but there's no communities, because a community is structure.
Exactly. Yes, it is.
A community is responsibility. There's a culture within a community. And that's what used to happen back in the day. With the old lady that was watching.
Exactly.
That's exactly what she was doing. She was helping to build the community. When cats knew they messed up, and you got to go by 3 houses, each of the 3 houses know your mama, your daddy, and the news of what you did get to the crib before you get home.
Exactly.
That was a sense of pride and community. Now, it's like a big video game.
Yeah, yes, indeed it is. And going back to social, let's go back to what I learned years ago in New York City.
Okay.
We learned social means to advocate a society of men or group of men for a common cause, right? So social media, the way it was even created was for that social networking process. But again, it's being misused and abused, and I think social media, to some degree, is probably one of the I could say one of the greatest mass destruction weapons that we have today, because it's being improperly used. To your point, so we have a lot of work to do, and again, we're going to have some type of real intervention collectively and be on the same plane of energy to work with these parents. Because I'm going to say this here, big shouts to brother Kwame Teague, who's an author who's in the Belly of the Beast. He stated that it's like an elephant in the room. All right, we have an elephant in the room, right? We know what the elephant is. We know what the problem is. But guess what? Everybody's pulling at that elephant at different parts of the body. Somebody pulling the leg, somebody pulling the tail, somebody pulling the ear, somebody pulling the trunk. And everybody has a different perspective of what the problem is. But in actuality, it's only one big, huge problem. So everybody coming from social media with a lot of disinformation, misinformation, and everybody wants to have a one-up on, I know how to solve the problem. And again, solve. I hate that word solve when dealing with people, but when they should be talking about resolve the issue or problem. And you resolve anything through collective effort, because you a mathematician. I'm sure you are. We both mathematicians up in here, right? But we can solve a problem mathematically. Right. But for us to resolve the issue as a community, we have to work together. Right. All right.
Give it up for that. Give it up for that. Plus, Rhandu has used the analogy of the night. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you go and check out the show in its full length capacity on Grown TV Network.
Yes.
Once we subside. But that was the analogy of the night right there.
Yes. And you also can catch us. We're doing some new stuff now. YouTube Live. So shout out to anybody who's watching us through YouTube Live. And
YouTube Live. Give it up for YouTube Live.
Yeah, give it up for YouTube Live.
Give it up for YouTube Live. We need some gunshots.
Yes.
Kirk, I need gunshots. I need a gunshot button. I need that.
And if you're over there on Instagram, shout out to the Instagram folks. But you also can tune in to YouTube Live. You can cast us to your TV and go ahead and watch it like a real show.
Are we casting?
Yeah, you can cast.
Are we casting?
And those folks on Facebook. You can go and look and cast us to your TV.
Casting, baby.
And then, of course, you can watch those recap episodes on GrownTVNetwork.com, streaming platform for content creaters all over the world.
Why are you trying to sound so sexy, girl?
I just want to, because I like this echo.
Everybody, Son D, don't boost her. Don't
What's up, son? Because you shine like one.
Three of your topics won't get discussed.
Son, because you shine like one.
We cut topics when you boost. Janie on the line.
What's up, Janie?
On the line. Thank y'all for tuning in, man. We appreciate the love. We are talking to Rhandu Adams.
Yes.
Better known as the Resolutionary. It's all about creating resolve, not solving, but creating resolve with people, and we trying to get it back to the community. Real ish going on here tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, fine tune your ears and your thinking. What is this OG mentality? Because they call me an OG. So what is the OG mentality?
Well, when you're looking at, of course, we know what OG means. The acronyms of OG is original gangster, right? So we know that. So depending on where you come from, the geographical location where you come from, you're going to say you have the OG, the old gangster, and then me coming from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, we had the OG calling each other the old gods. That makes any sense, right?
Yeah, of course.
So when you're looking at the OG mentality, think about that. Gangsters. Are we really gangsters? Were we really gangsters? Where does the gangster mentality really come from?
Right.
All right. That's not who we are. All right. That's a learned
behavior.
Yeah. And you know how it was back in the day. This be real. Before George Floyd, blessings be upon him and his family. Before George Floyd, I think that we all were mesmerized by the gangsterism depictions we saw in the movies, particularly Scarface. We know Scarface.
Yeah, I still watch Scarface.
Greats, right?
Right.
So now, we were so mesmerized by that. We was like, wow, look at this. You know, this is a game. We know about The Godfather, all the Italian gangster movies. That is not who we are. That is a depiction of them and what is called white privilege, right? Laws that they created for themselves, for them to benefit, because we got gangsters in politics. We know that, and a lot of them probably related to some of the old gangsters. That's not who we are. But if you don't mind, again, like I said, you have an intelligent audience. So I'm gonna educate. Can I educate?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Now, so we have a thing called general strain theory. All right, general strain theory, and I'm gonna drop it on y'all for a second, right? General strain theory, which is GST, a perspective that suggests that law-breaking behavior is a coping mechanism that enables those who engage in it to deal with the social emotional problems generated by negative social relations. Okay. All right. To go further, and let's deal with the homicides that's going on in our community, and I'm gonna break it down just in a second. I'm not gonna read all this, but anyway. Homicide is most prevalent, or the highest rates of homicide occur among a relative homogeneous subcultural group in any large urban community. The value system of this group, think about that, the value system of this group constitutes a subculture of violence. All right, so we have a value from this subculture of violence is a system, is a value system. It's like you getting your stripes. If you shoot somebody, you get your stripe, you rob somebody, you get your stripes, you smack somebody, whatever, right? Now, to close out constitutes, okay, from a psychological viewpoint, we might hypothesize that the greater the degree of integration of the individual into the subculture, the higher probability that this behavior will be violent in a variety of situations. So again, OGs, they would like looked up to the OGs.
Yeah.
But then we also had the OGs back in the day that you was a shorty, they told you to smack you upside your head, take your ass to school. You better go to school. You get good grades, I give you $100, whatever, $50, $20, whatever the case may be. That doesn't exist anymore. We just looking at them like, wow, look at them. They big bad or whatever the case may be. Now, I want to drop where the violence really came from with us as a community. There's a study in 1998 from a man by the name of James W. Clark, who was a white man. A political science professor at the University of Arizona posited that the high rate of black underclass homicide in the United States flows from a black subculture of violence created by generations of white on black violence that first emerged with the generation of black males that came of age after emancipation. According to Clark, many black males learned from early generations to seek status through their ability to harm, intimidate, and dominate others. Now, again, this is learned behavior. This comes from white on black crime, not black on black. All right? We use the term black on black. I know it exists, but in actuality, we are victims through generations, trauma, the whole nine, from white on black crimes. And that is why, again, we have this thing about respect. You got to respect me. You're going to respect me. You look at me the wrong way, you disrespecting me. You step on my shoes back in the day, you disrespecting me. You see what I'm saying? So we got to understand that the source of where this violence is coming from. That's not who we are. So back to the gangster mentality, we are not gangsters.
Right.
We're not gangsters. I'd rather be called an old god than an OG or old gangster anytime, because we gods. We already know that. We already know that science. That's another topic right there.
Yeah.
All right. We have to change that narrative.
That mindset.
Too. Because since George Floyd, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be real with you. It was plenty of movies I used to watch that was about gangsterism and the whole nine, but we knew the information was there. But since that, I've always been awake, but just saying, okay, I can no longer glorify, look at that in the same way I did before George Floyd was killed. All right, because with knowledge comes responsibility.
Right.
So it'll be hypocritical for me to look at that like, yeah, but we already know that was all a part of white privilege. They got away with that. They were able to become these quote unquote lawless people and infiltrate the political system, the law, the law enforcement system, and the whole nine.
That's their nature.
Yeah.
You're talking about who an individual is. Once you start bringing in the majority society or the dominant society, then you already know what we're talking about.
But you have a system to back them.
With that.
You have a system that's going to back them, their nature.
I don't even want to be remotely like the dominant society. And I was listening to you talk about the OG. I'm going to give you a different perspective.
Please do.
I think sometimes it depends on the energy that you give off and how the individual comes at you. None of these young boys on the street look at me as no original gangster. Even if they know that's what it is, the OG could be a term of endearment because you're the wise old owl.
Indeed.
So them young boys come to me, they ain't asking me about how to move no product. They ain't asking me about how to put on no twerk contest. They ain't asking me about how to get weed through the airport. Them young boys be talking to me about, hey, yo, Unc, what you think about whoop-de-whoop? What you think about whoop-de-whoop? They call me and hit me in the DMs. I need a grown man's opinion on something. Hey, Unc, you think you can? So I think sometimes it depends on the perception and the perspective of the individual. And I don't move like you would even pick me up as being an OG. When I pull up on them young boys on the spot, it ain't like that. It's just what it is. It's all love. And I think they come at me more of a degree of give me some information,
right?
Give me some wisdom, because an opinion is just that until you use it. Then it becomes advice.
Indeed.
So you said with knowledge becomes more understanding, right? So information is the new currency. So that's all I give them, just like on the radio. But them young boys like that I come in and encounter, they don't come at me like that.
But you're also one in many that stand on that square, right? On that truth, right? But keep in mind, like for instance, when you look in the paper and you see they rounded up, they arrested 8 black males.
Right.
Look at this problem. When you have the youngest black male being 16, because you know they can put them in the paper at a certain age, 16, then you have the oldest 32, that's a problem.
Right.
That's a huge problem. What is a 16, what is he
Why
doing
they-
being affiliated with a 32-year-old?
In
Now,
a situation like that.
back in the day, like I said, I had brothers. When I grew up in the streets of Brooklyn, I had some real individuals with me, or should I say, I was with some real individuals.
Right.
And these individuals were like 2 or 3 years older than me. And guess what? I looked up to them and respected them. And it was things that they would not allow me to do. Even when I was with them, it was things like, nah, you stay here.
Right.
Or nah, we going to take this and we be right back.
Right.
Or they'll say, Rhandu, you don't do this. Even though I did things anyway, because I was learning from them, but I know around them, they were responsible for me. I wasn't responsible for them. So, and they were also what I call, that we lack today, is voices of reason. Think about it. You have 5 teenagers today. You know who the person that has the gun. You know who the person who has the whatever, the gun, the automatic, the assault, right, whatever, right? You know who it is, right? It would take just one person, one of these individuals in that group to say, nah, we can't do that. We ain't gonna do that. But nobody opens their mouths to say, nah, we can't do that shit. Nah, that's fucked up. Nah, see? And it's really about just having a voice of reason. Now, if y'all all falling dumb and you're afraid to say something,
and there's no leader in the group.
There's no leader in the group. Then you find out when all y'all get busted because y'all all conspired to kill or shoot or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Now y'all want to talk.
Right.
When y'all could have avoided that issue. Now, in the streets are the streets. We know there are situations that you're going to run across that has to be handled, whatever the case may be. But again, it's out of control because nobody's teaching them certain principles of survival and even about how to what is called critically think. See things happening before they even happen. You see what I'm saying? I was considered a thinker in the streets. And I've been called all types of names, brain man, brain, whatever the case may be, because I was a thinker. And when I was running with my peoples, I ran with people where I was always next to the one with the biscuit. We called it a biscuit, right? With the gat, whatever. I was always with that person right by my side. Whether we went to the clubs, I was with that person. Because I knew what that person was capable of. But guess what? They followed my lead. Especially if I took them in this particular environment, they followed my lead. That's not happening.
So you had some type of influence within your circle, and that's what's important.
Indeed.
And you got to get back to that.
Yeah.
Because that's the responsibility of these older black men. It's the same thing as when I see females and people I say, listen, who's giving the instruction? Because we're failing on the instruction. Who's giving the instruction? One father say, read a book every day. One father say, play video games every day. And then you sit back and you try to determine which kid going to be better than the other kid. You can't. Because life come at you fast. De La Soul say life can get all up in your ass. Baby, you better work it out. The key word is you. Yourself. There is a loss of love for self that you can see and you can feel. It's so hard for black men to say, I love you to each other. So shit roll downhill. So the last thing you want to do is have your face up when it hits you. And that's what a lack of empathy does. That's what a lack of compassion does. I was blown away. It was a great feeling. My son called me the other day, or today, and was just asking about
Which one of your sons?
Justice.
Justice.
22-year-old.
I know
Asking
Justice,
about how I was feeling.
Y'all still got my poem?
And,
Come on
yes,
now,
come on,
of
man.
course.
And how I was
Y'all got on
doing.
the wall.
Man,
I'm sorry.
and how I was doing, okay, and it was a beautiful thing, just because of what he did. Parenting is influence, and it is, do you see yourself in the individual? Because we're all connected.
Indeed.
And it says there are no others, only reflections. When we start seeing ourselves in these young men, when we start seeing ourselves in these young women, it will become much easier to approach them with the truth.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And to give them what they need when you're in front of them. Because you can't save the world and you can't be everywhere all the time. But if you can take that truth talk with you, wherever you go, you build a consistency, and you know that, listen, instead of taking them to the left, I try to take them to the right. Instead of trying to take something from him, I try to give something to him. Instead of trying to de-elevate, I try to elevate. And at the end of the day, it's a huge responsibility for black men. But that's the plate that we have to step up to, because we already know a nation can rise no higher than its woman.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so once we start seeing the black woman as the closest thing we got on this face of the earth to God,
That's right.
then our thinking switches.
Yeah.
Now, instead of just seeing a girl twerking, you see somebody's mother eventually.
That's right.
So you want to talk to her now versus in a couple of years when she holding one on the hip. Because the chances of her paying attention and really trying to understand is going out the window, because you ain't my mama and you ain't my daddy, and that's the equation. I ain't.
That's right.
I'm not. But I'm concerned about what's going on with you. And Yolanda, you know, a lot of these kids ain't got nobody talking to them like that.
I was going to say, and that's going to take some creative, whatever, I don't know, what do you call it? But I think that is so important.
True.
Because I don't see lecture tours, or I don't see assemblies or programs talking about the light of the black woman. You know, like within this conversation, that's something that Tone has always talked about. And you have your certain influencers and people maybe on, YouTube or whatever that speak about it. But I mean collectively as a whole, making it a generalized conversation. It seems to be a conversation that's pocketed or that's happening in small clusters. But if it was on a larger scale, then I think these young men, if they heard somebody, you know what I mean, that they looked up to, or even if it's us connecting with those people, because those people who have the bigger platforms, who are influencers, to understand how they should be speaking about women and black women.
Well, that's where y'all come in, because y'all building y'all platform as we speak.
Yeah,
so
right.
Those people who have the large platform, they're not doing it for a reason. You know what? Let me say this here. It may not generate the revenue.
Right.
It may not be a popular topic.
Right.
So therefore, y'all got to be trailblazers, which you already are, because y'all a power team here. You know what I'm saying? And Tony, you always been a brother I've known for years to speak truth. You've been rebel on the radio for years. You know what I'm saying? So it was a matter of time when you was going to come here. You know, I know you from before Tone, the whole nine, so we know. Look.
Yeah, he do know me from before you, boo. Me and Rhandu go way back. Not like that.
But anyway.
That was always my brother, though.
Club scene,
Right,
the whole
club
nine.
scene, that was always my brother from another mother.
Tone, I know your mother. Well, I knew your mother. Your blessings be upon it.
Look, you got the crickets going.
Yeah. Anyway, but as I was saying, y'all got to trailblaze and create that platform, and we got to speak truth to that power. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen through you two. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
Because a larger platform, they got all these people, and they're not saying the right things.
Right.
You understand? So just be unpopular. It's okay to talk about the popular topics, but find one day, one day a month, we're gonna be unpopular. We're not gonna be comfortable with our conversation. We're gonna make people uncomfortable.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
That's what needs to be done.
There ain't no one time a month there.
But you know what I mean. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
just to set
Right.
the
It
That's
needs
tone.
to be
man all the
something that's
time.
Yeah,
consistent
all the
and
time.
every
That's all the
day.
time. You got to give it to them. You got enough outlets.
Yeah.
Like if you like Real Housewives, you got Atlanta, Salt Lake City, New York, or California,
Potomac.
the Potomac. You know what I mean? You got that. All right? So here's the thing. How do you get someone who likes Real Housewives to pay attention to this? You see?
When you say somebody who likes this is what I think.
That's just
First of all,
an
Real
analogy.
Housewives, that's an analogy. People who watching Real Housewives are just trying to entertain themselves from a hard day's work.
That's what I'm thinking.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's just
Because I looked at it one time before,
Right.
and I'm looking at laughing. I'm talking shit through
Right.
the whole doggone show.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just talking shit through the whole show. Like, what the
Right.
hell, you crazy? But it's just for them to wind down, to get away from reality.
exactly.
Because we know that's not reality.
Right.
They know that too. The women
Right.
who watch, they know that's not real, but they
Some
trying
of
to
them.
get. Well,
Some of them do.
some of them think is real. You saying?
Yeah, well, I think the majority of the conscious woman or grown woman, young women may not. The same way kids looking at people videos or rap stars
True that,
or
right.
people
True
on
that.
Instagram, they may think that that's real. But someone who's looking at it and enjoying it looking at it for entertainment and for TV and just for enjoyment, they realize that is not real. Because you can look at some of the things that play out on that and then look at some of their real lives and see whether they've gotten arrested or their marriages is broken up or loved ones has passed away. And that story, that plot might not have played out on the show. So I think,
Yeah, so you deal with the numbers game, right? We know that most people will think is the real thing, just like with social media. You got people probably, we know the numbers 85, 5%, 10%.
They think that
We
everything-
do those numbers, right? Most people think it's real. Other people know it's not real. They take advantage of the people who think it's real. And
Right.
then the small percentage who we are, like we know what the real deal is, what what those truths are. And that's what we have to focus on. And again, we may not we can't save them all.
why? I know.
Well, you know
right?
what?
Because you can't.
I know.
I mean,
Everyone
I hate to
can't
say
be
can't.
saved.
Yeah,
No,
I
everyone
do
can
too.
say
They
can't,
say
or
we
you-
can't say
everyone
can't.
cannot be saved.
We
Yeah.
Yeah,
'Cause
we
they don't
can't
wanna
save
be.
them
Right.
all. but they
Everyone
don't wanna
cannot be saved. What did Harriet Tubman said? She said, I could have got more slaves
We can
if they
try.
didn't realize they were slaves.
Right.
We can try to save them all, right? Can we try?
Yeah.
All right. But we know that the numbers, we have 10 in the room. Out of the 10, only 2 or 3 gonna walk away with that truth.
Right.
Maybe 4 or 5 gonna be like, yeah, I'm on the fence. Most of them gonna fall off.
Right. Speaking
So-
of trying, what keeps you motivated to continue to try to reach people? Because you've been doing this for like many years. And a lot of times, you've made, I don't know how many programs, you've, given, I don't know how many mentorships and been,
Talks, lectures,
talks
yeah.
and lectures and stuff. But what really motivates you as an individual, honestly, to keep going?
Well, I learned a long time ago. I believe that I was blessed to be what is called a poor righteous teacher. Those of us know what that means.
Yeah.
At the
Rock
same
this
at the
funky
same time,
joint.
exactly. At the same time, I'm gonna say something. My drive to do what I do, I came down here with the energy from Brooklyn, New York. I left New York at 23. I ain't gonna tell you how many years ago that was. I'm telling my age, right? Whatever, right? But I left at 23, and I left because I had to change not only my thinking, because I was always thinking in the streets. I always knew I wasn't smarter than the streets, number one. I knew that I wasn't smarter than the streets, so therefore I knew I had to get out of the streets. So when I moved down here, I changed my environment, thinking environment. And then it became therapeutic for me to stay the course of positivity. Now, was I always positive? No.
Right.
I had to get out. We was in the clubs, all that stuff. I had to change my environment by focusing more on positive until my positive outweighed my negative. When I came down here, this was negative. And I had to just create a certain environment, changing my thinking, changing the people I come in contact with. And I began to change my way of thinking.
But how did you change your way of thinking? And I'm asking these questions for a reason. I'm going to get to the reason why for those people who might be listening.
I changed my way of thinking by changing my environment around me.
Okay.
The people I came in contact with. Because I was in Columbia first. First I was out in the country, then I was in Columbia, then I moved here to Charlotte. And as soon as I got here, I saw this Nations Bank, at the time, Nations Bank building being built. And I was like, damn, this is a city. And I started thinking, I said, I ain't gonna lie, I came to Charlotte, I said, damn, Charlotte is like a a big piece of pussy, wet pussy about to get fucked.
Right.
I was thinking like opportunity. So
Right.
I came and I just dived in. But what I started doing, I started meeting people who was about the community, the promoters, club promoters. I met radio, being up the radio station back in the day. Poetry. Remember I did the poetry, of course. So I started just changing my environment. That was the toughest thing to do, changing my environment. And as I changed my environment, my thinking, my environment, I began to change my behavior. But it became more, it's still therapeutic to me, for me to do the right thing for young people. Like I'm best man in a wedding on Saturday for a mentee of mine.
Nice.
And I've been a mentor to him since he was 17.
Oh, wow.
And he's 43 years old now.
Awesome.
I'm the best man at his wedding.
That's another avenue of approach for young black men as well as young black women. Mentors. As many mentors as we can have. Mentor programs are big because a lot of times these kids really don't have anything solid to anchor on to.
Right.
And if you can start to build some confidence in these kids and you start to change the environment, you give them different things to look at, different things to think about, and they can get outside of this Charlotte all my life mentality, that starts to build up. And real quick for you, sexy for no reason, I want to drop this
She
on
means
you.
sexy for no reason. Sexy for you.
Rhandu appreciates this because Rhandu said that he considered himself a poor righteous teacher. And then, of course, I heard you cue right on Rock This Funky Joint, which was the rap group. Now, the science, because my man Meek Man is on here and he's a 5%.
Okay.
The science is it's 85% in the world, right? 10% and 5%. The 85 are the deaf, the dumb, and the blind. They walking around aimlessly, no leadership, no energy. They just pulling off of whatever they see. There's 10%, so they don't know the truth.
Right.
There's 10% that know the truth, but they won't share it with the 85%. So they use their knowledge to make money off the 85. We call them the bloodsuckers.
Or the poor.
The 5% is 5% that know the truth and tell the truth and use the truth. They are the poor righteous teachers of the world, of the earth. So that is the 5%. So I wanted to break it down on mathematics, and she broke it down on hip hop.
Exactly.
So we wanted to bring it together.
So you just put it out there because, like I said, it was subliminal what I was saying at the same time.
Oh, we got it.
That's
They
the
know.
because that's the foundation of who I am. And I got a much
Clarence 13X.
Clarence 13X, and I got a big shouts to my big brother Q-Mar that's out here. Big shouts to God, Sham God, a number of other Shabay. I can name a few, the brothers who watched over me coming through the ranks. You know what I'm saying? So yes, that's the foundation of who I am. But to your question again, I do it because I'm doing it for not only for the young people, but it keeps me in alignment. You know what I'm saying? By walking that path. Because if you're not investing in a young person, if you're not investing in a young person, you ain't doing shit. That's how I look at it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
If you're not investing in a young person,
That's a bold
That's
statement.
real.
You
and
ain't
that
doing
makes
shit.
Give him some hand claps for a bold statement. Hand clap for that statement.
And I asked you those questions just because, for some young black men or women who may be looking and who may be in an environment or a situation that they feel they cannot get out of, but mentally they're ready to, but physically they may think they're stuck.
Right.
A lot of times when, people speak, you speak about I came through it and I did this and I'm doing this now and I used to be in this place. But sometimes I know for me, when someone is telling me I'm a creative person, so I'm a visual thinker, I need to know, well, what did you do? I need something tangible. So that's why I asked you, what kept you motivated? And then not only from what kept you motivated, but when you talked about the mindset, what did you do to shift your mind? Like, how did you make that happen? So that they could understand, maybe it is getting into a different environment.
Yes.
Maybe it is connecting with someone like you and not being afraid to reach out to someone that they see who is speaking truth and who is accessible to them, maybe through social media, to take that first step to change their situation.
Exactly.
I feel like sometimes people don't change because they don't feel there's a way out. And when you know better, you're able to do better. And everybody don't get that from home or in their circle.
See. Let me tell you what they've been talking about, what you've been hearing about mental health. And I'm not certain if y'all had somebody on the show already to talk about mental health. But when you hear people start talking about mental health, That's a broad field. So don't get caught up in that because it became a good talking point to say mental health. All right? So you got to focus on, what do you mean by mental health? Mental health is mental health. You mean mental issues. So a lot of times, to the point I'm saying, a lot of times with us as a people, I'm just going to be real, I don't think it's all mental issues. I think it's environmental issues or environmental issues that's going on. So to your point, it's called normalization. The study in behavioral health field, I think it was John McGee who talked about the science of normalization. I'm going way back. If you take a kid who is considered has behavioral issues, and put him in a classroom with other kids who have behavioral issues, what's going to happen? He's going to learn what?
Behavioral issues.
More behavioral issues. But if you take that kid and take him out of that environment, of that classroom, and put him in a regular class, or should I say a classroom with kids who are not deemed behavioral issues, guess what he does?
He'll start acting.
He advances.
He adjusts to his environment. So we're looking at these communities with these kids, they are in environments that they seem they can't get out of. And when I say again, if you ain't investing in a young person, you ain't doing shit. Because there's enough of us out here to go to that neighborhood or that hood, whatever you want to call it, and pull one. But I always say 2, 3, 4, 5. We can do that, right?
Each one,
pull one out of that environment and take him or her someplace different. You got kids here in Charlotte, you know, that come from Betty's Ford Road or from Bradford or who never been to Pineville.
Right.
You know that, right?
Right.
Who's never been out of their environment.
See.
So if you change their environment, you show them something new, they see with the 2 physical eyes, but then they begin to see with their third eye, which is the mind. They start seeing things differently. They start saying, wow, it's only cross town, but you took them out of their environment for just an hour or 2. So it's environmental more so than mental issues that we have.
You better give him some.
Dropping knowledge in here tonight. Where the bombs at, Kirk? I need bombs.
And speaking of bombs, we got to blow up our sponsors for Grown Man Visual Conversations. Grown Man Conversations, the visual podcast. Got to shout out EQ Studios, exceptional quality studios, where we do the podcast live here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Also have to shout out Grown TV Network. You know, even though you can see us now live through YouTube, you can go back and catch these recap shows on Grown TV Network, along with other content from Black content creators all around the world. Also, make sure you go and check out Grown Fit Wear. As you can see, I have on my Grown Fit tracksuit tonight.
That's that Columbia blue and white.
Yes, that Columbia blue and white.
Tracksuit season is all season. All seasons for Grown Fit.
For fall. I got
No. Hold on.
Fall or all season.
Yeah,
bro.
let me interject.
You better feel it.
Let me interject right here.
But don't get on me, Tone.
Oh man, I don't get on you. It's information.
Right.
Okay. We're all about
you for that
changing
refill.
mentalities around here.
Oh, and Wines with Brian. Got to shout him out real quick. But go ahead. Tell him what you were saying.
We buy clothes a lot of times for the weather. And marketing knows this, so you get this for the fall. We get this. I said on Grown Man Quote of the Day a couple of weeks ago, I said, don't buy something and save it for a special occasion.
Right.
Because every day that you're alive is a special occasion.
Indeed.
So I'm moving that into, you don't buy clothes because of the season. You buy clothes because you like it. If you buy a tracksuit today, it's not out of season. You wanted a tracksuit. I wore that tracksuit. I had one on in Vegas. You know what the temperature was in Vegas? But at night, it's a different dynamic.
Yeah.
I never felt like I was out of place. So when you say, yo, I was going to get one, but it ain't cold enough.
It's going to get cold one day.
That's the wrong
And
mentality
you better have it
anyway.
in your closet because they
That's
exclusive.
about you get it
Fashion man.
when
You're
you
the fashion
see
man.
it.
Exclusive.
You get it when you see it
got the socks.
because
I
you
still got the
want it.
socks, yeah.
Exactly.
And then you wait to a time for you to wear it. But like I said, the special occasion, every day you get up, you want to feel good about yourself, throw the tracksuit on tomorrow and walk around.
Come on now.
You know what I mean?
sense.
I had a hoodie on and a scullet the other day when I went into Publix. That's me. That's how I felt like doing it. Ain't nobody say, oh, you got a hoodie on? Don't you want to wait another month? No, I'm fine today. This is my thermostat. You do your thing. And you're not going to get off the hook.
I know
you're going to get one of these grown fit sets.
Yeah,
you're
not
going to get off the hook.
You got to contribute to the cause.
You're going to get one, the blue and white. Don't forget about the black and white.
Black and white.
Don't forget about the red and white.
Red and white.
And please don't forget about
the burgundy and cream.
The Fresh Fest collection. Burgundy and cream soft suede.
Velour.
Okay.
Velour, not the velour. Y'all
Yeah,
went back in the day
The
like
Fresh
velour.
Fest collection.
Yeah, we went
like
back.
Fila velour.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
Fila velour
Oh my
like
God.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, we went back to Sergio
The
Tacchini.
velveteen.
You don't
Not
remember-
Sergio Tacchini.
You don't remember that,
I know
baby.
about that, man. I got that shirt on one of my phones. Yeah.
You don't remember
I
that?
got
That rooster?
Yeah, listen.
Come on.
Y'all wasn't wearing that. The Fresh Prince put it on.
Yeah, we brought it back. But look, so we're wrapping up here the show on Grown Men Conversations. But before we go, we want to make sure, for one, the people know how they can get in touch with you and follow you and learn more about your programs, be involved in your programs, or if they want you to come out and speak. But before we go into that, let's talk about changing the narrative, because I think that's what we were on at the end when I was asking the question, like, how do we reach some of these folks, and how do we reach some of these youth and men and women who need to be reached? And a part of that probably comes with changing the narrative, right?
Yeah, so when you're looking at changing the narrative, like I was talking to Tone earlier, we're talking to you both about the movies of what we see and what we hear on the movies, and or whatever the case may be. The narrative was about what is it? Getting stripes, right? You know what I'm saying? Getting stripes in the hood. You know what I'm saying? The drug game. We know that doesn't really exist anymore, right? Even when we looking at the music we listened to one time talking about the drugs and the whole nine. That narrative has to change, because in actuality we saw plenty of documentaries that say drug game over, right? The drug game doesn't exist.
Right.
What's really going on in the neighborhoods? What's really going on in the hoods? They got ops. What are y'all ops about? You know what I'm saying? What are y'all shooting about? Nothing. But you have what is called the gun culture exists, right? Everything is about the gun. So I think that we have to change the narrative by putting things in place, by implementing certain programs or certain agencies that's going to work with these particular parents, okay? We got to change the mindset that, it's okay to sell drugs. We know people selling a lot of different things for different reasons, but the drug game does not exist. We can no longer say, when you hear certain songs about whatever, I know they still smoking crack, cooking crack, but again, it's got to change the narrative. We have to do that, and we got to challenge those people who are glorifying that. Now, to one thing you asked about, where can people go? It's several organizations that are out there that I can, if you don't mind me, put out there on the
Yes, absolutely.
So you have the parents. What I would say, the parents can go to a program that Mecklenburg Council of Elders has, which is called the Juvenile Court Intervention Program.
Nice.
Juvenile Court Intervention Program. We need the parents there, and we need the young people there. And don't get it twisted. When we say Juvenile Court Intervention Program, don't think, my son ain't never been in jail. No, this is a prevention program, because guess what? If your child is under 18 years of age, your child is a juvenile, right? Now you think about court. My son, I don't know nothing about no court. I ain't sending my. Yes, let's go back in the day. Juvenile court. What is court? Now, if you have multiple siblings, let one person fuck up in the house, and mom and pops don't know who did it. What did they do? All y'all asses come in here in the living room, sit down, and they start putting shit on trial.
That's court.
That's court, right? So juvenile court. So y'all familiar with that? Your audience is familiar with that. They've been, they experienced that. So juvenile court intervention, you intervening through their growth and development. You're intervening. You're trying to bring some type of intervention to guide them in the right direction. So Mecklenburg Council of Elders has juvenile court intervention program at 1000 Anderson Street at the old Plaza Elementary.
Okay.
Throughout the week, okay? Yep. You can call, as a matter of fact, go to Mecklenburg Council of Elders on IG, Mecklenburg Council of Elders. They can find it on IG. That's one component. Then you have a component, a young lady by the name of Daphne Smith, who has Smith School of Science. She is very thorough with talking about what goes on in the body when it is approached, has some type of a threat. She can break it down from a scientific standpoint about what goes on in your body when you feel threatened. All of us. Okay. Then she focuses more so on fight, flight, and freeze, and she breaks it down because she's a scientist and a biologist, so she knows how the body feels when it's under any type of duress or whatever the case may be. So you can look up on IG Smith School of Science, and that's going to be another subject we can discuss at a later date. But Smith School of Science on IG as well. Okay. Then you have, I'm going to give y'all. Well, then you have me.
Right.
Rhandu, the Resolutionary.
Yeah.
That's what we're waiting for.
Yeah, Rhandu. You can go on IG, Rhandu, the Resolutionary 21.
Give it up for that,
Resolutionary
21. Yeah, Rhandu, RHANDU, the Resolutionary 21. You can go on there. Just look at my page. It's still fairly new, and what it is now, and I appreciate you all introducing me to this platform because this is going to be my breakout.
Yeah,
it's going to be my breakout. So because I want to put videos and I want to start doing what is called online free programs for parents. Free 99.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? If you want to, so I want to come up with some strategies on how you deal with your children in the home, family mediation and the whole nine. So that's what I'm going to have to
Much needed.
do, and that's what I will be doing. So you have those entities. You have Mecklenburg Council of Elders, Smith School of Science, and Rhandu, the Resolutionary 21. Tap in and they DM me, whatever the case may be, and I can send you some information where you can go, okay?
Awesome.
And I also want to put one more person in because, again, this person had put me out there when I first got back from D.C., who's more so about relationships and spirituality.
Go ahead.
Run Towards Your Life. And I think we all know LaShonda Bacotes. She's another person who was with Pride Magazine.
Yeah.
LaShonda Bacotes. She has a website called Run Towards Your Life, and she talks about...
Yeah, she's in Peru, or she went overseas somewhere, right?
Yeah, she was over on another island, Grenada.
Yes,
You know what I'm
Grenada,
saying?
yes,
Right.
yes.
But she's back for now, whatever the case may be. But I think those entities, because again, those people out there talking about relationships, because a lot of
we
times
need
what's
to get
going
her
on
on the show.
with our parents, again, parents are so busy combating with one another. You know, relationship, single parents, single fathers, the whole nine.
Right.
You got to rebuild that. You got to bring that back with relationships between men and women. So I say those all four entities that are near and dear to me, those three, Mecklenburg Council of Elders, Smith School of Science, Run Towards Your Life, because I've been on her platform before, a couple of years back. Okay, so I got to give her a mad shout out.
Yeah.
And Rhandu, the Resolutionary, reach out to me and we'll make some things happen. But remember, we have to do it collectively.
Absolutely.
You got to
Collective
resolve
effort.
the issues collectively because not one person, not one organization can do it alone. So we can strategically align ourselves, which is what we're doing right now, to change the narrative. And I got some other stuff I'm working on. Maybe we can talk about that at a later date.
Absolutely.
And you notice he kept saying, that's another time, it's another time. Which
What
really
am I
is
doing?
him trying to say, yo, we got to come back. You know what I mean? So next time you come back,
Well, we can,
all right, we're going to make sure we hit them all. Did we hit them all?
I think we did.
No
Almost.
snitching, millennial
Oh.
parenting, the OG mentality, the gun culture,
I'm gonna have you to read
the
this.
history
here.
of violent behavior, changing the narrative.
So part of
wearing
my paper,
green
people. I
caps.
mean,
it's
all
nothing
these
wrong with
digital
the
stuff.
paper. Go
But
ahead.
yeah, read that to the.
This is
read
what
that.
I get down with. I'm a payphone. You an
Yeah.
iPhone. OGs, old G's, pave the way for young G's and only perpetuates a generational gangsterism mentality which continues to plague the black community. The OG mindset must stop. Now, you've heard us say that. The OG mindset must stop. But let me just say this. If you see me in Walmart, okay, and you be like, OG, I'm going to turn around and I'm going to give you some love and I'm going to embrace you because I know how you mean it. But for the others, okay,
The others.
you understand exactly what he's talking
So
about.
maybe
That's
it's
all about
changing the
narrative.
mindset and changing the narrative, and not necessarily saying drop that because, like you say, when I think of OG,
Jesus was
I
an
think
OG.
of it like a term of endearment.
What?
Like if
Understood.
an OG got my back, and I don't think, and even though I do, understand that it,
term of
derived
endearment.
from original gangster. Today, in this day and time, I don't think of OG as an original gangster.
So let me.
Well, that ain't your environment because if we go out to Compton.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, but I'm just
Okay.
saying. But like, okay, cool. Brian, my trainer, he was an OG. But look
Right.
how he's, you know what I'm saying? And
Right.
to
and
me,
he's
that's
still
a
an OG
positive.
'cause
Yeah,
he
he's
got
still an
knowledge
OG.
when it comes to
Exactly.
working out
Exactly.
information.
And go ahead.
So look at it from the standpoint, because I'm not. Let me be correct. I'm not saying anything wrong with being considered an old gangster. But again, when you
mindset.
it's the mindset,
Yeah.
right? So let's look at it. So what we just talking about right now is called a divine dichotomy, right? A divine dichotomy is when you have two truths, all right, that are being manifested simultaneously, and there's truth on both sides. So to your point, you got the OG, old gangster, then you got the OG, from my standpoint, old gods. So you got to know how to create the balance.
Right.
Because to your point, you know, the OGs that's out there, they got to change the narrative. They got to change their mindset.
Right.
But they still, it's all about, sometimes people just want to have that status. They want to keep that status, live in the past, but they got to understand they got to change that negative mindset of an OG and try to redirect these young people into surviving, because those OGs are surviving. They've been alive.
Exactly.
These young cats, they not surviving.
You're right.
They not living past 15, 16, 17 years of age.
You're right.
We done made it to whatever plus age we are. I ain't gonna tell our age, but we made it. You know what I'm saying?
I'm tell mine, boy.
Mama, I made it, baby, and I'll be 50 in December, boo.
I'm with the
50 in
50 club.
December. Me
50
too.
Club is a big
Me
deal.
too.
Hey,
Me
listen,
too. Me
before we
too.
go, I got to shout out everybody that's on Instagram, everybody on
IG, Facebook,
everybody that's on
YouTube.
That's checking us out live HD. Shouts out to Kirk and EQ Studios putting in HD digital work. Black owned. You need a studio. You got something going on.
Right.
You
You
need
better
to reach
come
out
see
to
my
him.
folks.
I got to shout out Comic Lewis Powell, man. You allowed to listen to what he said.
Oh, what'd he say?
He said he bought me a pair of socks from Brother Tone X in Kansas City.
Oh, okay.
They my lucky socks now, since I got laid the same night I bought them. And I used to say
All
on stage,
right,
what I used to say, Lewis,
All
on
right,
stage,
Lewis
I used
Powell.
to say, if you want to get you some, come to my
You
table
better get
and
them
get these
socks.
magic socks.
Somebody
and
said they
something
like the
gonna
socks.
happen.
Somebody said they like, and that was it.
But he got some
I
cool.
like your
He got
socks.
some.
You know what I
cool-
mean?
Yeah,
So
he got
shout
some
out
that
to my
night.
man Lewis Powell. Bought a pair of socks from
He
me
got
in
him some
Kansas
cooter.
City and got laid that same night. I told you it's magic in the sock, and I still got them. I don't know why y'all backed off. You might as well hit me up and get them. So shouts out to the Grown Gang for being on here, and they all said great information tonight, great grown
Good.
man conversation. And so
Good.
that's what it's all about. So to recap, Grown TV Network.
Grown TV Network.
Make sure you go to grownfitwear.com.
And make sure you go to Grown Man Conversations podcast on YouTube.
Yes.
Grown Man Conversations podcast on YouTube. Subscribe for free and watch us live. And you can join in on the chat. We can get some of your comments and information and feedback also through YouTube. So make sure you go there, Grown Man Conversations on YouTube.
Follow me at Tone X Comedy. All
And
right.
follow me at Y2_Yolanda.
We out of here, man. Thank y'all for the love,
Peace.
Rhandu.
Peace.
We are out of here, man.
It's a grown man in the building. I don't think you're ready. Come on.
Yes.
We riding on some grown man knees. We step into some grown man knees. Conversation on some grown man knees. Put your hands up on some grown man knees. We puffing on some grown man knees. We sipping on some grown man knees. We vibing on some grown man knees.